And we should be live, hopefully. Yes. Um, Welcome to the stream this evening or afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. By the way, let me know where you're from. I'd like to know where everyone is in which part of the world. So today's stream, I have a couple of things to talk about. It's not specifically about one topic. Um, and hopefully there will be something interesting for all of you in this stream. I have put a note to self. I've written down a note to self to mind the ums. So if you catch me umming a lot, let me know in the chat because I'm trying to reduce that in the streams. Um, and it's an Ask Me Anything stream as well. So I do have things to talk about, but you can ask me anything. Um, just throw questions at me in the chat, and I'll try to answer them. And you can also share your opinions on well whatever I'm talking about. And I've got most of my gear around as well. So if you have any questions, I can grab something and show you. I've got DaVinci Resolve open and the screen that I can share, so I can share some of that, show some of that, if you want. So lots of things we could talk about. And I've also figured out how to pop chats on the screen. So that's nice. Hopefully that works out well. And first, I want to say a big thanks to every one of you who's subscribed, because I've now hit the 2,000 mark, and I'm very grateful. It's awesome. And I've been wanting to do a stream like this, sort of a stream with all sorts of things, and hopefully some engagement from you in the chat, questions, opinions, just having a little chat. And since I didn't have a regular video ready for today, I thought this is a great opportunity to do this. Yeah, I'm noticing myself humming. There we go again. Okay, so let me first quickly go over my setup of today for the stream. The camera that's filming me right now is the GH6 with the Panasonic Leica 12-60, and that's going into my gimbal monitor through HDMI and then to my computer via capture card. The GH6 is on autofocus in one area plus mode, and I have the settings usually to -2 and -2 speed and sensitivity. That seems to work well for this kind of video. By the way, I have a video in the works talking about autofocus and manual focus in depth, and I will be covering all of those settings as well. But that's not finished yet either. The rest of the setup, I've got my audio. This I haven't done before, putting my Sennheiser MKE600 in a sort of a podcast setup. So we'll see how that works out. That's running into my Zoom H5, and from the Zoom H5, the Zoom H5's line out, that's running into my GH6. So then I don't have to put any delay in. It goes out over HDMI. And I have my G9, which is right here, hooked up also to a capture card on the computer with the Ninja V, so I can show you what's going on the G9, the G9 menus and such. So I can show you if necessary. And we have one comment, I believe. Good evening. Yes, good evening. That's my girlfriend, actually. saying good evening. Okay. Oh, Red, you did actually make it. Welcome. If you lost all your gear in a fire, would you start over with Panasonic, and what would your first purchases be? Oh wow, that's a cool question. Interesting question. Well, first of all, yes, I would start with Panasonic again because, um, well, for a few reasons. The first being that I like the the colors that come out of Panasonic cameras. Like the one is nicer than the other, but in general, I like the colors. And second is the video features Panasonic cameras offer, video and audio actually. Um, like things like waveform, vector scope, although vector scope I don't use all that much, but waveform and all the other like video tools and video capabilities Panasonic offers. That's a reason. And also the audio is usually good, and lots of options, especially on the GH6. So, and there's another reason, and that's stabilization. Stabilization is just, I mean, it's the industry leader, and at least for video. I know Olympus is also quite good at stabilization, but I think I've never owned a Olympus camera, but from what I've seen, it's more like stable for the still side and not so much for video. And Panasonic is just really good. And my first purchases, yeah, that's an interesting question. Because that's also like a consideration would be price as well. And I mean, I've got a lot of gear, but I don't necessarily have a lot of money, so I always have to consider the price. I do think I would buy the GH6 again. It's an awesome camera with lots of features, and the thing that I very much like about the GH6 is that you can record everything in 10-bit internally, the higher frame rates as well. So, and everything without a crop. Not completely true because there's a slight crop in 5.7K, but basically without a crop. And it has a timecode port, which recently or earlier this year became very important to me, or I really wanted to get into timecode for a while. And earlier this year, I got the Tentacle Syncs, a few of them, and it's made life so much easier. It's great, and the fact that it has a dedicated timecode port is just is awesome because it doesn't take up any it doesn't take up the mic input. So GH6, yeah, S5 Mark II, interesting, but it's like it's not the big brother to the GH6 because it lacks features. It lacks the uncropped high frame rates. So I would probably consider an S1H or maybe an S1H Mark II if that comes out. If I would be considering full frame. For now, I don't really have a need for full frame. The G9 is still an awesome camera. Probably I will buy it again just for the ergonomics, and it's much more lightweight than the GH6, which is sometimes very nice. Recording limit is sometimes a problem. But other than that, it's still a great video camera. Okay. Oh, follow-up question. Let's see if that works. Yes. And if not Panasonic, who? That's also a good question. I think in terms of image quality, I think it would be Blackmagic. The big drawback with Blackmagic is the usability. It's got no stabilization. It's got no autofocus. Well, that's not really a big issue for me. It's just an all-round, or not an all-round kind of camera. It's more like for narrative filmmaking. It's not designed for run and gun. It's not as versatile, and it's not hybrid. And I do take the occasional photo. Not many, but sometimes. So Blackmagic, yeah, because the image just looks very nice from any Blackmagic camera, really. So that was an interesting question. Next question. About AF. In video setting continuous AF, there is mode 1, mode 2 and off. I set it off because otherwise it keeps focusing even when the AF AE switch is set to AFS AFF. Why doesn't the switch work the way it does with stills? Yeah, I've been wondering the same thing, Alex, and I don't really know. It seems a bit strange to me. Let me read again. Set off the AF switch. Set to AFC doesn't change it. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that it's different from stills. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. Okay, next question. Oh, interesting. Which gear do you regret buying? Well, that I can tell you, or actually show you. Sorry for the squeaky chair. It's this one, my gimbal. It's not bad, but it has quirks that are really annoying. Like, for example, you can, or you should be able to program it to remember settings, but it doesn't work at all. There are 3 slots and neither of them save anything, for example. It's also a bit of a it's a bit too light. Not so much for the G9, but if you use a bit heavier lenses or the GH6, it's too light of a gimbal. And I would just not buy a Moza gimbal again, because it's yeah. Another thing is, I would like to have like these sidebars, like with the Ronin. You can buy a ring basically, that goes around the body of the gimbal, or the grip, and then you can hold it with 2 hands. There's not really a way to do that on this gimbal. I've made something myself, but it's not ideal. And the other thing about this is that I also got the wireless fuller focus that goes with, or that belongs to that system, and the motor for it, and it's not very good. There is the how do you call that? There's delay in the reaction time. When you turn the wheel, the motor reacts a little later, so there's a bit of delay. And sometimes you turn it and nothing happens, so then it's basically offset. And since it has a hard stop, once that offset happened, you can't focus all the way from close to infinity anymore. So that's one thing I regret buying. Is there something else? Not really at this point. Maybe I'll think of something else. Okay, yeah. Right. What else do I have on my list? Oh yeah, this is also interesting. I got a question on my announcement of the live stream from, and I'm gonna spell it, KOEDZZ. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. And he asked, do I think Panasonic will come out with a G9 Mark II? So I obviously don't know. I don't have any inside Panasonic information, but I thought, let's speculate a bit. So what do I think? Well, first off, I think that the first Micro Four Thirds camera that Panasonic will come out with will be a G9 successor. I think that makes sense. The GH6 is still quite a young camera. It's recent. It's from last year, so I don't think there will be a successor yet. But the G9 was first released in 2017, so that's due for an update. So I think that will be the first MFT camera with face detect autofocus that Panasonic will come out with. And I think that makes sense because the G9 is still a very popular camera, and lots of people ask or say like, I want a G9 successor. So I think in terms of what it's going to look like, or what camera it's going to be, I think as far as the design, I think it will be very similar to the original G9 because people like the ergonomics, the design overall. Maybe with the same LCD screen mechanism as the GH6, so that it can tilt up and out to the side. That would be great because I personally like that very much. That design on the GH6, so that would be great in the G9 successor. And in terms of specs, I think it will obviously be a more stills focused camera, same as the original G9. So I think it's going to get some features that are more photography focused, and the GH6 is lacking. So for example, live view composite. I think that might be something that, well, it's something that the GH6 doesn't have, and I think will be added to a G9 successor. And in terms of video, let me go back to my notes. I think one more thing about stills, I think it will have a much higher burst rate, like at least higher than the original G9, but way higher than the GH6's burst rate because that camera is a bit slow. And in terms of video, I think the G9 Mark II, or whatever it's going to be called, will still have a recording limit. I don't see them lifting that recording limit from that camera because I think they're going to try and keep that body as small as the original, or as small as possible. So lifting the recording limit would mean basically mean making the body a bit bigger to have better heat dissipation. So I think there will still be a recording limit. On the other hand, I do think that it will record high frame rates in 4K. So same as the GH6, up to 120 frames per second, or 100 in my region. That's what I use. And I think it's going to have the same sensor as the GH6 as well. I don't see a increase in megapixels happen on Micro Four Thirds, not significantly. And for me personally, I don't need more megapixels. I would have been fine with the GH6 having 20 megapixels. Honestly. Sorry. I think that the G9 successor will also have the full Vlog version, so not Vlog L, because it will be the same sensor as the GH6 with the increased dynamic range, which is basically what you need for the full Vlog version. Not sure if they're gonna do it via an update again that you have to purchase, like an extra update, like on the original G9 and the GH5 as well. Possibly. I mean, they still do that kind of thing with the S5 Mark II. You can buy an update for the what is it, RAW over HDMI. But at least it's going to get full Vlog, I think, and that will probably also bring waveform and some other video features. I think it's going to be an interesting camera, and the first camera that they are going to release with face detect autofocus in Micro Four Thirds. Let me know what you think. What do you think? Are they going to? Is it going to be the first that they're going to release, or do you have a different idea? Let me know. I'm curious. Alex says, let me bring it up again. Love my G9. Yes, me too. I still use it all the time. Any tips on how to, Chris, any tips on how to denoise ProRes RAW? I have neat video and have just started experimenting with it. Well, to be honest, I am going to talk about this a little bit in my GH6 long-term review that is in the making. But to be honest, I don't really shoot ProRes RAW for a couple of reasons. First being that I am limited by my editing software, which is DaVinci Resolve, which doesn't have support for ProRes RAW. And you can convert it with a RAW converter or a Simulate, I believe. But the free version only converts like 300 frames or something. And because I don't really have the need to shoot RAW, I can't justify paying for that conversion software that converts it into Cinema DNG. I would love to try it though, and I have tried a conversion of like 300 frames, and it looks good. But about the noise reduction, the denoising, yeah, I can't tell you much about. On other footage, I do use denoising in DaVinci Resolve sometimes, and sometimes that works really well. Other times it doesn't really. Not sure what that's about, why it works well the one time and not the other time. Not really sure. So I can't really say much about that. But thanks for asking, because I have been thinking about neat video as well. So if you can, let me know your experience with it, because I have heard good things about it, about neat video. Next question. Do you fear for the future of MFT, or do you think it is secure now? A few years ago, a popular YouTuber predicted it would die. Well, I don't have any fear of MFT dying. I don't see the reason why. Panasonic has said that they will bring PDAF to Micro Four Thirds, so that's going to mean a new camera. And also, because the sensor is smaller, the readout speeds can be much higher, so they can pack more advanced features into an MFT camera because they're just more capable in terms of speed, readout speed, and also they can the form factor. Although the GH6 is quite a chunky camera, but the overall form factor, when you consider lenses as well, lens size, appeals to a lot of people, including me actually. So I think there's still quite a demand for Micro Four Thirds cameras, and I don't see them disappearing anytime soon. And I certainly hope not. I hope it is safe. It would be good if more people considered MFT or instead of automatically going full frame. Yeah, well, there's something to be said for both systems. They both have their purpose. And I think, for example, for wildlife, the longer reach you get with substantially smaller lenses compared to full frame, that's really an advantage. I mean, I was also going to talk about this thing. This is like a backpack clamp. You clamp it on a strap here, on your backpack strap, and there's a tripod plate that slots into here, and then you can just click your camera or the lens onto this, and you can quickly grab it and shoot something. And I use that all the time with usually with the G9 because it's a lighter camera, but sometimes also the GH6 with the 100 to 400. And that's like totally doable to have that here. It's not super big or heavy. If I would do that with a full frame camera with the same reach, that would be like massive, and I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't walk around with such a thing here dangling from my backpack, especially not like when hiking. I don't want such a big thing. So I think that's a big advantage to MFT. Was that your question? Yeah. Okay. Speculate more. Red. A rep from Panasonic talked about revolutionary primes like a year ago, but all we've had is the 9mm. What would you like to see in terms of primes? T or f1.0 lenses, cinema styles? Yeah, good question. I would still like to get my hands on the 9mm, by the way. I don't have it, but it seems like an awesome wide angle lens. What would I like to see in terms of primes? Yeah, that's a good question. I think I think I would be very curious to see what Panasonic would come up with if they would go into the Cine style side of lenses. I would be very curious what they would come up with, possibly with the Leica like signature. So Leica, Panasonic Leica Cine lenses. That would be very interesting, because I think that could possibly mean that those lenses will have like electric contacts, and that's something I would really want for Cine style lenses, because they can then at least communicate the focal length to the camera, which is good for stabilization. Then you don't have to put it in manually anymore, and possibly aperture control would be nice, although smooth aperture control with a camera, that's not really possible. That will also always be like with increments instead of stepless. Um, yeah, so that would be very interesting. The other thing I would like to really see is I I really like the Panasonic Leica 12 to 60 that's shooting me right now because I like the reach very much. The 12 millimeter to 60 millimeters is just it's awesome. I've considered the 12 to 35, but I find it a bit limited. The only big downside to the 12 to 60 is the variable aperture of 2.8 to f4. So I would love to see a Panasonic Leica 12 to 60 with a constant aperture. 2.8 would be fine. Faster would be even nicer. But I mean, that would probably become a very big lens and would be more like the ones you have read, the 25 to 50, and the yeah. So that's what I would like to see in terms of lenses. Um, what would you like to see? Let me know. Let me see more questions. Yes, I'll take the opportunity. I can't really see your name, it's more of a number. I'll take the opportunity to follow up on a comment you made. Which wireless lavalier mics would you recommend above the DJI mic? You'd hinted that okay, I know, yeah, who you are, yeah. You'd hinted that spending a little more would be worth it. Yes, I said that. You would commenting on this the video about this Fulaim set, which is very nice. There's a new version. I've put the link in a pinned comment under the video. Yeah, well, I am planning on making a video about that, so I'm not going to tell you all that much, and I have to do a bit more research into what would be the best step up. But in general terms, the thing is, I also mentioned that in the video about these, that all these types of systems are 2.4 gigahertz systems, and yeah, there is difference in audio quality, but the thing is, they're prone to like interference because it's a very busy frequency. And if I would spend a lot of money on a system like this, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with that because yeah, you may have better sound quality, but you might lose your audio altogether because there's interference. So then I would look at a UHF system or what I've been using lately, a Tentacle Track E, which is a 32-bit float recorder that is, well, not wireless. It doesn't send a wireless signal, but it's a body pack, and it syncs to, well, it's got timecode, and it syncs to the Tentacle Tentacle Syncs. And that means that I can just hit record in the app or on the device itself, leave it running, and because it's 32-bit float, I don't have to worry about levels. The only thing that could happen, because you can't monitor it, is that like a cable might get unplugged, although it's got a locking, the lav mic that comes with it has a locking connector, so that doesn't come out. But there might be something else like sounds from clothes or something that you can't hear because you can't monitor it. But it is very reliable. So that could be an option. But I will come back to that in a video. So I hope that answers your question, at least partially. All right. So at the moment, no new questions. Let me see what else. Yeah, so I've talked about this little thing. I'll try to put links in the description to the products I mentioned after this stream. Okay, yeah. I've got something else. And in previous videos, like my rig video, for example, GH6 rig video, I mentioned this V-mount battery, which is the FXLion Nano 1. It's a great battery, but it's quite expensive, and the Nano 1 is also quite small, but it's quite expensive, and that's yeah, I mean, everyone has a budget, and most of you don't have a very big budget, same as me. So I looked at an alternative, and I found this. It's the, let's see if it wants to focus. No, I should have turned face recognition off. It does not want to focus on this. Oh yeah, it does. This is a Vemico V99, which has like twice the capacity of the FXLion. It's also roughly twice the size. The thing is, it has the exact same ports as the FXLion. So USB-C power delivery, micro USB for charging if you want to, but you can also charge it through USB-C, USB-A, and a regular V-mount connection for a V-mount plate, and the D-tap. That's all the same as the FXLion, but for almost half the price. And it works really well. I've been using it for quite a while, and there's nothing I can say that's not good about it, except for maybe the screen is a little less fancy than the FXLion screen. I mean, this screen just looks very fancy with a blue color, and it's very bright. This one is a bit less, but I mean, who cares? I don't really care. Tells you the voltages as well. So if you're looking for a V-mount battery like this, I strongly recommend this one. It's not sponsored. I bought it myself. Really like this one. I'll put a link in the description as well. Those are just things that don't really warrant their own dedicated video. So I just wanted to share that with you in this stream. Okay, next question. No, let's pop it up on the screen again. Thank you. As a follow-up, my name is Al. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Al. It was a great question, by the way. Also, being in China, I just checked on Taobao for the Tentacle mic. They did not have it. You would be horrified to see what I actually ended up with as a result. Well, I'm very curious. Sorry, Tentacle Recorder, I did understand, just typed in a hurry. Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm very curious what you ended up with. So if you can let me know, that would be great. By the way, I completely forgot to ask, does it look and sound good? Because this is a bit of a new setup. So if you could let me know in the chat, that would be great. Okay. No more questions at the moment. Let's see, what else do I have? Yeah, so what's coming up next on the channel? First of all, I would like to do more of these streams. I know, like, the channel is quite small. I've just have over 2,000 subscribers, but I would like this to grow and have sort of a yeah, bit of a sense of community with these kind of streams. Just have a chat, ask questions, share your opinions, speculate a bit about new cameras or other gear. Um, so I'd like this to grow. So if you enjoy this, please give it a like so more people will see it, and maybe the next stream will be uh, even busier. I'm already happy with how many have I? Seven of you watching. Well, that's great. Um, so yeah, what's coming up next? Well, these streams, hopefully. But I also have my video, my long-term GH6 video, which is now the talking head is in editing, as you can see. But I have to find and shoot some B-roll, some archival B-roll, and some new. It's going to be a long video. I have a lot to say about the GH6. Hopefully you will enjoy watching that. I'm putting a lot of effort into that because, I mean, I also like doing that. So, yeah, that will hopefully come out in 2 weeks from now. I post every fortnight. So, and the other video I'm working on is sort of part of my video 101 series or beginner series or whatever you want to call it. Maybe beginner to advanced. Or, there is the autofocus versus manual focus video. That's something I've been wanting to make for a long time and also got requests about. So that's something I'm working on. I still plan on, well, my tutorials won't go anywhere. I will keep making tutorials, but I do enjoy mixing it up with reviews of products that I bought myself or that I get sent. By the way, I only review something that I think is worth reviewing. Otherwise, I just won't do it and I won't accept the product or I'll send it back or whatever. But if I think it's crap, I will either say that in a video or won't review it or just say no. So what I've done until now, the reviews that I did are about products that I think are like great value or good products, something I can stand behind, really. Same goes for the DEHANCER video that I made, which did surprisingly well, actually. Very happy with that. So let's see if there are other questions. How long have I been going for? Almost an hour already. Always goes faster than I think. Okay, do you ever film with vintage lenses? If so, what have you tried? I've got two. And they are these are Minolta Rockor lenses, and this is the 135 millimeters, and this is a 50 millimeters with an adapter to Micro Four Thirds. It's a lot of fun to shoot with. They're like this 50 millimeter is a 1.7 f1.7, and the other one, yeah, it's not a very fast lens. It's a 3.5 f3.5. I most like the 50 millimeters. It's a really nice focal length to play with. Really, 50 millimeters, especially at f1.7. But I don't use it like for my work as a videographer. I use it for fun. It's very soft, and it's hard to match with anything else that I have. But I do want to get more into vintage lenses because it's a lot of fun to play around with. This one I don't use all that much, but it's cool. It's very, very long focal length. I don't have any more vintage lenses. Okay, looks and sounds good. Thank you. And again, sound is very clear and full. Image is solid, very successful streaming so far. Well, thank you. That's great to hear. Okay. And another question. Oh, hi. I never know how to pronounce your name. I see you on the stream at Lumix Live, like almost every week, and I never know how to pronounce your name. Aoyagi. Hopefully that's right. And you say, "Hi, Sebastian. Here is a totally uncontroversial question just before Lumix Live. What do you think is the future for MFT, if there indeed is one?" Yes, I completely think there is one. And I think it's going to be a very bright future for Panasonic, because they have said that they will bring face detect autofocus to Micro Four Thirds. So that is going to happen in a new Micro Four Thirds camera. And I think that's going to sell really well. Micro Four Thirds is still very popular. The G9 is still a very popular camera. GH5 still. GH6, well, at least from my point of view, it's a very good camera and quite popular. And I think the advantages it offers for shooting Micro Four Thirds, like faster readout speed, which also is a huge benefit for rolling shutter performance. Like the rolling shutter performance on the GH6 is absolutely amazing. You can hardly see it if you quickly pan around. So, like I said before in the stream, I think the first camera, Micro Four Thirds camera, they will come out with will be a G9 successor with face detect autofocus. That's what I think. Hope that answers your question. Next question. I have been a Lumix shooter since the GH2, so appreciate what you do. Well, thank you. I have only shot GH2, GH4, and GH6, skipped the GH3 and GH5. GH4, so that's a lot of GHs, was such a workhorse. Vintage glass and adapters are a major plus. Yeah, that as well. Like you can adapt basically anything to Micro Four Thirds. And if you use a speed booster, you can also get some very shallow depth of field if that's what you're after. And more light, low light performance, increased low light performance. Yeah, he was also on the stream, Red Thompson, my fellow YouTuber. He recently released a video about the GH4, and I've never owned one, but it inspired me to also pick one up. I haven't, but very tempted because it's cheap now, and I think it's still a great camera. And they are workhorses, like all of them. Also the G9. I haven't had any problems either with those cameras, and I've had them in challenging conditions. Also, I also wanted to mention that I wanted to share my experience with SD cards that work well. Might surprise you, but these cards, the Lexar, yeah, it's not going to focus on this tiny card with my face in the background. It's the Lexar 1667 V60 works really well with the G9, no problems whatsoever. And for the GH6, I've got the SanDisk Extreme Pro, also no problems. That's a V90 card. And the CF Express cards I use in the GH6 are the same ones that like came with the GH6. There was a package with a free CF Express card, which is also a Leica card. Okay, I agree with pretty much everything. Really looking forward to that PDAF camera that's coming. Yeah, me too. And I love the GH6. Me too. Torn between that and the S5 Mark II currently. Yeah, it's Aho Yaji. Okay, thanks. Or Damien. Damien, that's a lot easier, Damien. I'm going to call you Damien. Okay. Yeah, the S5 Mark II is interesting, but it's I feel like if I use that next to my GH6, I will feel limited compared to the GH6 in terms of like the crop in 4K 60 and that kind of stuff. But it is a very compelling camera. But probably an S1H Mark II would be more interesting, but also more expensive. So that's a consideration as well. Can't wait for the new G9 of which you speak. Yeah, that will be very interesting. But unfortunately, I don't have any inside information, so it's just speculation. Hey, hello from Mobile AL. I don't necessarily know well what AL stands for, and I can see that it's a US state. Alabama, probably. Well, that's great. You make great videos. Thanks. Well, thank you. And great deals on the S5 now. Yeah, that's true. If you want to go full frame and find a bargain, the original S5 is, you can find great deals. I have considered that as well, but as I said, I don't necessarily have the need to go full frame yet. Some situations I might, yeah, I might think, well, full frame could be very handy. Oh yeah, Alabama. So, well, that's great. All right. Well, I've been going for an hour now, and I don't want to keep you from going to Lumix Live, which starts at 8 o'clock my time. So I think I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you so much for being on this live stream. I think it's just awesome that I even have people viewing. That's just great. I enjoy this very much, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. This sort of random chatty live stream. And oh yeah, I have Micro Four Thirds. I love them too. Yeah, it's great. And I hope you'll help me grow the channel, grow this live stream. Give it a like if you genuinely like the stream. Otherwise, don't like it. But yeah, it was great. And all of you, much appreciated. Oh, hi, Uwe. That's nice to see you. Thank you. This was a very cool end to my day. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for doing a live stream today. And yes, unfortunately, Uwe, you are a bit late to the live stream because I'm going to end it now. So, for the last time, I hope you've enjoyed it and give it a thumbs up. And, well, hopefully I will see you next time. Bye.